In the F tier we have Gary, Indiana, from the Americas map. In patch 1.906, during the full release of the game, some of the up and coming guilds sought to make a lot of gold, and due to the recently released Technological Revolution expansion, were able to take advantage of some of the newest features in the game, and created one of the largest steel mills on the entire server. Within this expansion, steel was an essential crafting component in almost every single recipe, in almost all professions ranging from sailing to building. Due to the proximity of iron nodes being so nearby, gold farmers could easily travel to the nodes, level up their mining, and supply the mill with all the necessary ore. As some of these areas had the chance that mobs could spawn, and many farmers took extreme risk, potentially losing their character forever, but those who had player housing in the area benefited massively from the XP gained from the hub leveling up over time. But this XP boom wasn't to be forever. Eventually other servers began to catch up and flooded the markets with cheaper crafting components, and the mills began to close and XP grinded to a halt. The hub began to downgrade to a ghetto level area. It was even named the PvP capital of the US, with players wiping in the region of 76 PvP deaths per 100,000 players. But hey, if you're into famous players, you can visit Michael Jackson's family home and collect some sweet achievements. Now in the Deer team we've got Lahore from the Pakistan map. Now it does have its nice areas, but the debuff from the level of air pollution and that the players get here is just not worth it. Having your player housing in this area can reduce your overall play time significantly, and sadly for many players, becoming unlucky when they spawn are forced to grind out copper and silver patch after patch, with barely enough to purchase the much needed consumables just to keep on playing. However, it has been leveling up quickly recently. With all that grinding, other more wealthy players have decided to side quest in these areas, hunting for achievements, mainly for bragging rights and hunting some of the more rare housing items, as Lahore has some of the most stunning architecture and significant cultural assets, and have a chance to obtain the rare elephant mount. All this history is an excellent insight into previous expansions and patches. Hopefully they can dispel the air pollution debuff in time. The future patches look bright for this area. And in the C tier we've got Los Angeles. You know that common mount that players always get, the car mount, right? Well, due to the vendors in America selling this mount for pretty cheap and making them basically mandatory for the majority of the player base to own, this player hub could be excellent, but the local admins decided to rely too much on these mounts. Well, it's got a little bit messy. Player housing is super expensive. The amount of gold required for the average person without high levels of achievement points or the fame perk to just obtain a plot is just unrealistic at times. Many players are just flat out homeless and they don't have enough gold just to get by. Many have to craft their own houses using some basic materials and create these tent structures. Many have a 50% chance just to get a debuff of a bad back and wet clothes every time you log in one of these houses. But hey, they have some pretty iconic zones. The beach area where players get to chill and often RP and play some minigames. They even have some famous players like Gwyneth Paltrow and Billie Eilish, so you might even get to see a couple. But the majority of the player base just want to gather fame points and achievement hunt. This often attracts some big ego players that can really debuff you if you've not taken the extrovert perk. And in the B tier we have Berlin. Not only is the player base extremely efficient and can grind out gold and mounts like nobody else, they also have a beautiful city, but not without its issues. Back in patch 1.986, this area was home to the Berlin Wall, where players were segregated from each other by the local admins. Many players looted this wall during the raid event on the fall of the Berlin Wall. A rare drop from this was an actual piece of the wall, and many players now hang these trophies within their own player housing as a remembrance to this raid event. Berlin is often famous for the big social events and world quests that come at night time, where the majority of the player base is logged off, and it's probably the best on the whole server. If you get a passion for EDM music, then you'll be able to dance your little heart out with some of the highest rated dancers on the server. So in the A tier we have London. Yeah, I might be from the British map, but I do think that London is possibly one of the best player hubs I've ever visited. The amount of side content in museums and theatres are vast. We can even take a look back into the Mesozoic era and look at what builds worked back in the day in the very early alpha stage. You can even find some builds here ranging back to just after the full release of the game, with loot from other parts of the map. My personal favourite is a set of Japanese loot that you can find, won by some of the best PvPers in the entire area. Very cool indeed. The underground fast travel points are also excellent, if you don't mind being super cramped next to some of the alternative player base. Yeah, you might catch a debuff, but if you hang around it for a bit too long, but you should be okay. The player around markets are also legendary, where farmers and crafters come from miles around to sell their legendary grade goods. These consumables and some different flasks you can find here are top tier and they do not disappoint. Whether you want to have an intelligence based build, strength or dexterity build, you can find it all here. And if you're looking to have a duo with another player, if you get what I mean, this is an excellent area to find the most perfect one to share whatever remaining playtime you have left with. Some of the most romantic areas here in London are sure to impress Brittany, the 22-year-old furry from South Dakota that you've been talking to for the last 4 years on Discord, but haven't mustered up the courage to ask her out yet. But really, she might just be a gamer bro, but you're not too sure. Anyway, London is A tier, and you can't change my mind about that. Now, drumroll please, you might not expect this, but we've got in the S tier Astana from the Kazakhstan map. And now this isn't in the S tier because it's really functional and cool, but because this place is just so weird and unique. Compared to all the other player hubs we reviewed so far, this is really something else. The building models here when the local admins created this place are just really striking. game, and something that you just won't see anywhere else on the server. Look at this very oddly shaped tower. Doesn't it just inspire you to get onto your mount and travel around the Kazakhstani leveling zones? It even has a massive yurt tent thing. The boost received from the surrounding landmarks cannot be understated. Maybe a lucky player might just get the rare inspiration buff and create something extremely unique from just looking at this wonderful landscape. Now, in our super secret OP tier, locked away in the ancient patch notes, game lore keepers have managed to piece together a secret play hub, one which many think has been lost to time. Populated by a different kind of player of the demigod variety, this is the lost city of Atlantis. It's fabled among players, and you can hear whispers of it being mentioned in guild chat even to this day. They say that this is the ultimate player hub with some of the most talented crafters and some of the most experienced PvPers living here. Where is it today? Nobody knows, but some rumour it still exists and only a handful of elite players know its location to this day. Maybe one day you'll even find its location and discover the ruins left behind by these extremely early alpha players. But remember, you only have one life in this game, so don't waste it. Go out, complete the quests which matter to you, and most importantly, enjoy the playtime that you have left. I've been Off Meta World, and thank you for watching.